Okay, so here's where we are right now. I fixed quite a few of them, and we got these lines of consoles. So on the left side, we have 4 boards that I've already taken chips off of. So these are going to be parts boards. Then this longer line is what I believe to be bad CPUs, and then we have confirmed PP1 fails that they're. I'll show them later on. Once I peel the chip off, I'll show their failure. And these are actually good. They're working from what well, this one doesn't work, but it has corroded traces. So I don't want to just keep patching. It's a lot of corrosion on the board. You can't see it from where, but it does have, like on the cartridge connector, just dark traces over by the CPU and the PPU one. There's corrosion. So I don't want to repair this board. It's going to be a lot of work. And I might not even get it to work, so I don't want to waste too much time. I can just use that for parts. And this one works, but as well. This one actually does boot, but it has a lot of rust over by these chips here. So I'm going to also use this for parts. So here's where I'm thinking. I could theoretically take these 2 CPUs and put them over here on 2 of these boards. And I could also take these 2 PPU1s and put them over here, and then I could find the PPU1 off one of these boards as well, and then fix these. So I'm looking at fixing maybe 5 consoles. But what I'm thinking about doing is, because some of these boards, they don't boot the burn-in test, and some of them actually have distorted graphics. So these, even though they're labeled as bad CPUs, they can actually have potentially a bad PPU or RAM or something else wrong with them. So I want to eliminate as many. I want to see if any of these CPUs are actually good. So what I'm thinking about is taking these 3 boards and these 2 and taking all 5 CPUs and going down the line of these and repairing these. Because if this all solves the issue, not all, I can't repair all of them, but I could try to repair at least 5 of them. And that's what I'm thinking about doing. Because if I take, let's say, a CPU off this, and then I put it on, let me see, like something like this, no boot, and it still doesn't boot, that means this CPU might actually be good, and it could be another chip that's bad. Or because I know I have at least 2 of these that have bad graphics, but I still believe them to have bad CPUs, even though they have bad graphics, because like when I start up the game will freeze. Sometimes PPUs, when they go bad, they'll also freeze on gameplay, but usually a lot of times CPUs, they'll freeze almost always on gameplay. So that's why I labeled them as bad CPUs. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I think I'm gonna work on trying to fix this line of CPUs. Another day, another board repair. Now I've already diagnosed this as a possible bad CPU. Here's what I'm getting. It posts, it does all the tests, it passes all the tests, but then it locks up. And it stops, it freezes right at this screen. So it becomes black screened. I think it's the CPU. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take another console that has a bad PPU, and I'm gonna put the CPU into this one and see if this fixes it. Because if I get the same issue, a black screen, then I know that the CPU is good, and I can place the CPU on another console. So yeah, that's a unique fault. Let's try a game. Let's see if a game runs. I doubt it. Actually, never tried a game yet. Okay, see, it's distorted and it's forcing me at player 2. Yeah, I froze. So yeah, I think the CPU is bad. So if your console is doing this, freezing, you could have a bad CPU. Let's see. And here's the board I'm going to be taking apart from. Now, this one for sure, like 99% positive, has a bad PPU1 because it's giving me the same fail as before. Now I've already showed this fail before and I've repaired it. It's simple, it's just a PP1 swap and that should solve that. But in the interest of figuring out what causes this one to do what it's doing, I'm gonna take the CPU here and put it there. Because right now I'm looking at more CPU faults than PPU1 faults. And I'm running out of chips, so I'd rather try to find as many unique errors or unique failures as possible. So let's get to it. Okay, so let's get to it. Take a little bit of flux. What am I doing here? Oh yeah, CPU. It's not so bad to use too much flux. It's better to use more flux than too little flux. Alright. Let's heat this up. Alright. Let's clear these pads. Nice and easy. Alright, that seems good. A little clean. Okay, the CPU is still incredibly hot that I can't lift it with my hands. Okay. Okay, I got the chip in place. Let's solder it. I like to go near the pad, not the chip leg. There we go. Just hit the pad. Good. 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 Alright, that chip isn't going nowhere. We could put a little bit of solder on all the corners. And now we need some no clean flux. And try to lay it down. See, my iron is getting cooled. It's not really cooperating too well. Okay, let's test it. Let's clean it and test it. Okay, with this new CPU in place, let's try again. I'm actually getting better at installing those CPUs, soldering them in, because I was having trouble when I started again. It seems to be working, but remember, the test failed at that binocular screen window. I'll show it to you. So here's where the test failed. It crashed right at this window here. So now it's working. We could try it with the game. Just let it finish and then I'll try it with the game. Okay. So that was that. Let's try. See what Mario Kart gives us. That's much better. Why is it giving me 2-player races? Why is it doing that? Hold on. We might have another problem here. I never understood that. Sometimes it'll start in player 2 and sometimes it'll start on player 1. I don't get that. Maybe somebody can explain that to me. Because if that's due to a fault on the board, then let me know, please. But yeah, this one looks like it's working. So yeah, that's another one. On to the next one. Okay, so check this out, right? This is why this cartridge is somewhat important. Because if you're at home trying to fix these consoles and you get the same errors as me, you can usually deduce what chip is bad. So look, check this out. Oh, wrong test. Okay, so remember at this Windows screen, the previous console had the same, not the same error, but it was messed up on that screen. So what I'm thinking is another CPU error. Let's try a game. So once again, if you're trying this at home and you had that test to see what's wrong with your console and you get that same screen, well, if I fix it in this video, you'll know. Okay, so that's not right. And it's asking for player 2. And I don't have another controller. But I know for a fact that's not right. Let me try a different game. Let's try Donkey Kong. Yeah, that's perfectly normal. I don't see anything wrong. Let's try to get into the game, see what's up. Yeah, okay. So it looks like a absolute mess. But the game is working, like the logic is a little good. This could actually be a PPU issue. But since the other console had a problem at that screen, this one might have the same thing. What I'm thinking about doing is swapping the CPU, and if that fixes it, then it fixes it. If not, then I'll swap other chips. So here we are. I'm trying to fix this one, and I have this board here. In an interest of full disclosure, to see what's wrong with this one, I concluded that this was a PP1 fail, because once again we got our trusty little screen here. Now it says, come on, focus. It says VRAM, of course. VRAM low fail. Then it has DMA and VRAM count, I believe. So you already know what that means. PP1. So I'm gonna, and this is a CPU B. So I know that 99.9 times out of 10, out of 100 rather, that this is good. So I'm gonna put it there. Okay, I just used the no clean flux, added it to the board. Let's get this off. Yeah, this flux is good. It works well. The one in the syringe is the same kind of flux. The one with the, it's the same number. Let me see, 8341 no clean flux paste. A lot of people ask me what flux I use. Maybe I should set the temperature on my hot air rework station a bit higher. I usually do 350 Celsius, but I don't know. I think I could do 400 or 375. I might try 375. That's one. that came off easy. Alright. Clean it down. Alright, there. Okay, here we go. Alright, let's clean it and test it. Okay, I got the chip in there. Let's try it out. Okay, so this screen is, oh, I just bumped it with my elbow. But yeah, the screen was working. Let's try a different game. Okay, let's try Donkey Kong. That's much better. So once again, if your game is giving you issues like this console is giving me, it's probably the CPU. And that's the unfortunate thing, that a lot of times it's the stupid CPU fails. Let's get into the game, see if we have a clear screen. Yep, all the graphic problems seems to be working now. Seems to be working. That's another one for the fixed pile. Okay, here's another one. Possibly the CPU. I really don't know. Let's try it. We get that. But see, the game is actually not locked up. I can actually hit select 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then press start to run the test. And we could actually run the test. It's not going to give me any information for sure. And I get vertical lines. Now, I think I've seen this error before. I've had this screen before. Like, I'm getting deja vu from this screen. And I don't remember what it was. But I'm pretty sure it's a CPU. I could try a game. Let's try a game. If it even loads. Oh. It was gonna give me a nightmare. The game is like really bad shape. There's no way it goes to the first level. What? Like, it's not playing, it's locked up. But listen. Alright, before it explodes, let me shut it off. There's another parts board for me. Now, once again, I could take these CPUs and put them here. I mean, this one's a PP1 fail. I could actually take the PP1 and put it here, and it'll fix the problem. But I want to solve the CPU. I want to solve this one because this one's giving me a unique error. So I want to see if I can fix as many unique errors as possible. This one is just giving me the same old, you know, and all the text is backwards. So, you know, it's that VRAM or whatever that is. VRAM. It's upside down and backwards. It's that DMA failure, VRAM count. So we've had this before. This pertains to PP1. So I'm just gonna swap the CPUs because I'm more interested in fixing this one. No, I've done this so many times in the past. You could skip over this if you want. I wouldn't. I would. Okay. Ah, damn it.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Here we go. Clean it, test it. Okay, with the new CPU in place, let's try it. That's much better. Yup, and it works. Let's see, what was the game that wasn't working well? It was Donkey Kong. Let's try Donkey Kong. That's much better. Okay, so we had another bad CPU. Yep, it's working. Yep, that's another one. Okay, so this one, for the life of me, I couldn't get it to boot the test card. I just get a black screen. So that could be anything, but usually it's a CPU. So I'm also gonna swap the CPU on this one and see if I can get it to boot. If not, then it's something else on the board. So this board I'm gonna use for parts. It's just extremely rusty on the side. Now it does work, believe it or not. This board does post and work, but yeah, it's not in good shape. I'd rather just take the CPU off this one and put it in a better shape console. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. This console wouldn't boot the test card. I swapped the CPU, and of course it boots. Now let's run the test. Yeah, so this video is gonna help a lot of people that have different CPU faults. Like sometimes the burn-in test won't boot if a CPU is bad. So the cartridge doesn't help always, but you know it can help a lot. In fact, I would argue that this cartridge actually helped conclude that the CPU is bad, because if it doesn't boot the burn-in test, and the board looks to be in good shape, no rust, no corrosion, then it could only mean that the CPU is bad. But keep in mind, if the PPU was completely fried, if either PPU was completely fried, you would also get a black screen. All the chips have to be, all the hardware has to be in sync with each other to boot properly. But you know, from my experience, when the burn-in test cartridge doesn't post, I usually swap the CPU and it fixes it. Yeah, this thing is working. I could try a game. I didn't know if no game would work before, because it wouldn't boot the test cartridge, the service cartridge. It wouldn't boot a game. And it seems to be booting now. Why does it go to second player sometimes? I don't know. I think it's a button I press. I don't know what the deal is with that. It's like sometimes it boots in second player, like ready to go, and other times it boots in player 1. And it's kind of random though, because I was testing off screen. It seemed to be random. Okay, we had synchronization with my soldering station and the flag and the start of the race. Yeah, it's working. That's another one. Got this one, and this one actually freezes at that, you know, that binocular screen where we were freezing before. It just stops right here. So remember, we had this issue before in the past. It was the CPU, and no games boot on this console. Not one game starts. Like for instance, we could put in F-Zero, and I've tried this multiple times. Give me a black screen, and the best I can get, and I know that the sound is working on this console because obviously the test card was displaying sound, but the Nintendo logo clicks, and then it fades and the game doesn't play. So yeah, this one is probably another bad CPU. Okay, so I got this board here. It's corroded, has a lot of like corrosion on the side. I don't see any broken traces per se, but I do see some little corrosions and corrosion spots, even on the back of the cartridge connector. You can't really see it on video, but this game won't boot. This won't post at all, and I don't know what's going on, and I'm not about to patch a whole bunch of little broken traces, because it's not even isolated to one area. It's like on the bottom here, it's on the crystal, PP1, and then some little spots on the cartridge connector. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the CPU from here and put it here. I'll do that off screen. I've already replaced a lot of CPUs on this video, so I'll just do that really quickly off screen and see if this console posts. Okay, I got the new CPU in this console. It does post, but I gotta wait to see if it locks up on that screen again. Ignore the noise in the background, it's my coffee machine. Yep, we're good. The screen would lock up, and now it seems to be playing. So let's try a game. F-Zero. This was a black screen before. Let's see if it loads. Yeah. So that's another one for the fixed pile. Let me try Mario Kart really quickly. Alright, let's see. See, now it's starting to player 1. I don't get that. Yeah, the game looks good. Yeah, the game looks perfectly fine. Play a little bit from our hand. Yep. So this game, this one is fixed too. Now this one locks up at the main burn test card screen. So I start it, and I get this. Now I can't even scroll. It won't allow me to scroll down. So it just locks up right at the main test card screen. So I'm guessing this one also has a bad CPU. I mean, I don't have any more. So here's a quick recap. After all these boards were replaced, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 PPU1s that were bad. No, CPUs that were bad. 4 PPU1s and then 1 PPU2. And then this one is the one from the Coca-Cola board that is potentially bad. I'm gonna try it out on another board because that was my first repair going into, you know, this new season. So I don't know if I made an error by mistake or I just overlooked something since it was my first board repair. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop that CPU onto another board and see if it works. The reason why I also think it's probably still good is the cartridge connector on my second and third board was giving me issues. So even though this gave me no signal or black screen, it could have been a cart connector issue because I had to swap out. I was using, like, I had multiple cartridge connectors here and they're all not, some of them don't work real good. So right now I got a cartridge connector that seems to work more or less. I gotta clean these other ones. But yeah, now keep in mind the PPU1s, a lot of them stayed on the boards because remember the last couple of repairs I repaired CPUs. I swapped CPUs instead of PPU1s. But I could have just had just as many PPU1s as CPUs if I were to take off the ones from the parts board down there. So yeah, I guess this information is helpful for someone out there that might want to know what's the failure rates. So yeah, I'm gonna replace this one, put this one on a board off camera and see if it works, because it's still like really good. I mean, you can't really tell. CPUs look good no matter what. But yeah, I'm gonna put it on that board that I have set aside and see if it works. So yeah, I did swap it. It still locks up, gives me a black screen. So yeah, that CPU is definitely cooked. That CPU did not work. I tried multiple times and I'm not getting anything. So yeah, that Coca-Cola CPU ultimately was bad.